we're going to continue on with Diana talking about what this letter was, first of all.
Let's see. I've gotten through life by laughing. And so my first seeing the photo and the red hair, it cracked me up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because it's
yeah,
like, oh, I've been taught to like, oh, redheaded
yeah,
headed folks
yeah.
are are whatever. But the letter was was mind blowing because of what was in the letter. And so Janice shared about being in love and meeting uh, my biological father on the military base and how they were to be married. And then, like the day or two before they were to be married, he left. Um, and and she knew her parents would not accept a mixed race
Mm-hmm.
baby. So she did tell me that he was black, and she did not feel that, although she was 20 years old, living on her own. She was a legal secretary. I don't know if she said that in the letter or not, but she didn't feel like she had the means
Mm-hmm.
to look after me, and knew that her parents would were racist
No.
enough that she wouldn't feel comfortable raising me with them. And so I had been a secret. She had
Mm-hmm.
made the choice um, to give me up, to relinquish me, to make an adoption plan, all of the things that they say. And what was like the mind blowing part of this letter was that she said, while she was pregnant with me, she contacted Good Housekeeping magazine, and they ended up doing a story on her being a unwed mother that appeared in the magazine. And she said, she gave me the title of it, Diary of an Unwed Mother. And and in her letter, she's like, I haven't seen the article around for a long time, but if you're interested in reading it, and I'm like, duh, yeah, of course I want to read it. But she said, if you're interested in reading it, I'll look for a copy and send you a copy. Well, guess who's in the Suzzalo library reading this letter? So
Yeah.
as soon as I got out of class, library school, I don't remember what class I was in. Um, I went downstairs to the archives and I printed out 10 pages of the Good Housekeeping article, Diary of an Unwed Mother. And and they had changed the location from the West Coast to the East Coast. They had changed the dates from, like, my birth date is around Christmas, and they
That's
altered it to be in the spring for like she had to go home for Christmas 2 days after I was born to go to her parents' wedding anniversary or something, some big event. But everything else was consistent. And
right. Mm-hmm.
so I learned the time of my birth from that,
Mm-hmm.
which I had always wanted to know that.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
If you're ever into star charts or all of those things,
Ah, yes,
the
I didn't
time
know.
element can be
Mm-hmm.
helpful.
Yes.
And so it was 10 pages of information. It was her diary entries. The uh, the person who wrote the article interviewed her doctor, her employer. It was also a little um, commentary on society because the main title was Diary of an Unwed Mother, but the blurb up in the corner
Mm-hmm.
said, it isn't just the hippie, the delinquent, or the slum-bred girl who gets in trouble. Often it's the girl next door. You know, this is the story of, they called her
So so
Sally, I think.
so why did she choose to do this? I know she contacted them, but what was her the purpose of her reasoning behind this?
In the article, it says she wanted this to kind of be a lesson to other girls, like, what,
So,
a cautionary tale, perhaps, of
well, you have that all in you. I see that that's in your DNA, who you are now and how you're helping, how you're serving and all that. And
Mhm,
also with your adoptive parents.
mhm.
So you come by this quite honestly.
Oh, there are so many overlaps with
Oh my gosh.
my parents,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
because
amazing.
I had three sets, right? My parents, step parents, biological parents, and then all the people that kind of try to mother me
Yes, yes, of course.
over the
Did you have a
years.
mentor? Did you have a mentor while you were doing that during these times?
No, I was
No.
my own mentor, right? And I think I had Betty Jean Lifton,
Who's
who
that? A
wrote
friend?
some of the first books as an adopted person. Um, what is it? Journey to the Adoptive Self. I'm forgetting the names, which as a
Hmm.
librarian, I'm always promoting books. But Betty Jean Lifton
Hmm.
was somebody I read her story, and that kind of gave me some ideas about finding my own story. But no, there weren't people helping adopted people with this kind of thing. And
Yeah.
we were fortunate. We had other adopted kids on our block growing up. I think that made a difference in our area. We were
Yeah.
open about talking about adoption. My parents were supportive of me searching. They didn't
Hmm.
have,
Hmm.
as some parents do, have that, oh, aren't we good enough? Or, oh, you owe us everything, and unfortunately, adopted people will often wait until their parents pass away before searching, and then that
Yeah, that's
could be
that
too
that's
late,
true.
and
But
that their parents would have passed away also.
yes, I, I didn't go through that myself, but I do know people who went through that. But I don't want to lose where this track where you were, because it's just your story
Sure.
is just so doggone interesting. So your mother, when do you actually have this physical meetup?
So, and I usually refer to her as Jan, right?
Yes,
My
okay.
mother, my mom is the woman who raised me in my when I
Mrs.
talk
Inch.
about it. Unless
Yes. Yes, I
unless I'm
understand
out and
that.
about. Yeah. So,
Yes, 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 of course, of course.
so it turns out that so we exchanged the letters. We did not talk or anything. We did start email. We had email in 1996.
True.
And so that's how we were kind of catching up. And she would write me these like six screens of email, and then she would say, "Oh, my 15-minute break is over." She was working in the schools, and I had to ask her, how fast do you type? Because she was a legal secretary. She
Oh,
typed
yeah.
like 160, 190 words a minute, because I was like, whoa, 15 minutes. And so we were getting to know each other through writing. And as it turned out, she was going to be in the Seattle area. She lived in Anchorage, Alaska. And funny fact, she and my brother, from my adoptive family, Shane, they both worked in the Anchorage School District.
Hmm.
And they lived about, as the crow flies, about a mile from each other.
Hmm.
We didn't learn that until later, but Jan was going to be in the Seattle area, and she was flying in on December 21st, which was 30 years to the day from the only time she got to meet me. I was born on the 20th. They had knocked her out for the birth, as I guess it was common practice to do that. When she woke up, no longer pregnant, the nurses would not tell her if the gender of her child. There was no gender reveal there. And they discouraged her from seeing me because they thought it would make it harder for her to make that choice to relinquish me. And remember, she's 20 years old. She's been living on her own for years. She still has the right to, I'm still her child. And they're not telling her if I'm a boy or a girl or anything, and they're refusing to let her see me. And I had been raised with the thought that she had chosen not to see me because it would have been too hard to give me up, which I can understand, because I was an awfully cute child. But she actually she refused to sign the papers until she was able to see me. And so the doctor relented and said, okay, we'll get a social worker in, and you can have like a 30-minute visit with your child under supervision on December 21st, 1966. And so she just happened to be flying into Seattle on December 21st, 1966.
96. She was flying into Seattle when?
December 21st, 1996. 30 years later. Yeah,
30 years later.
Yeah, sorry. And so I went to the airport to pick her up. And I still get emotional.
Yeah, I get it.
You could still go to the gate and greet people as they got off the plane there.
Yes.
There was a man in a Santa hat who I asked if he would take our picture when she got off the plane. And I was like, all I know is she has red hair, kind of. And he took a great picture. I love that picture of the first moment we got to embrace. Whew. It'll be 60 years next year, right? So we've been reunited 29 years now. And it still obviously chokes me up. But she came off the plane, and we did just embrace there at the SeaTac airport, and got our picture taken by Santa, film cameras, so we didn't have immediate gratification on that. And then as we were walking to the car, she said to me, "You have your father's hands," which people have complimented me on my hands. They're a little bit more beat up and stuff now. But for her to say that was like, oh, wow. And so we got through that, got to the car, and then we went to Denny's. And we spent maybe 3 hours over coffee and ice cream and French fries, just kind of on our own. And what we did was we shared our stories, shared our hopes, and sort of set boundaries for what we wanted our relationship to be and what we didn't want it to be. And I mean, we actually were just very upfront, and honesty and communication were a couple of the things that we were just like, okay, look, I will continue to have a relationship with you as long as you don't hurt my family. That's
Right.
basically what it came down to, was like, you know,
Because my mother is this person here who's put
right,
bandages on me and all. That's my mother. You brought me into this world. I love you for that. But, you know,
right. Yeah. Um, and that was the same with her. In her, at some point early on, she had said her sons didn't, oh, when we were emailing. So after we exchanged those first letters, I think we must have included email or something, contact. And the CI, we never contacted her again, right? Now that we had access to each other. And she had said that her sons didn't know. Her husband knew about me. But she hadn't told her sons. And I was like, well, tell them or don't. I mean, it's up to you. It does not get easier the longer you wait, right? I know too many in my mind, too many adopted people who have still, they've reunited with their biological mother, father, and they are still a secret from their families. And that's so frustrating to still, we are not secrets. We are human beings.
while we're on that subject, because I have asked people, do you find the biological mom seems to have the most pressure, the most negative feedback, whereas the father is just
If the father
donor.
even knows he's a father.
Yeah, if, no, yeah, the donor. So the mother, because that feedback is, how could you do that? How could you do that without understanding? There's a whole litany of things to understand what happens with moms and on whose shoulders we stand and all of that. But
Well, yeah, the whole stigma and shame around having sex before marriage,
yes,
right?
yes, yes,
And then getting caught, getting pregnant. I mean,
yes,
and I mean, this is worldwide, right? The
yes.
Magdalene laundries in Ireland, you would ship your daughter off to go, let's just call it a convent, have the baby, and then come back and pretend like nothing ever happened. I mean, that that article, Diary of an Unwed Mother, and I can help people locate it. I have a copy of it if later if they wanted to connect with me. I'm happy to share it. But it appears in the May 1968 Good Housekeeping, and it really reflects some of that. But the pressure under the mothers, and
Pressure. Yeah.
what does Maya Angelou say about people will forget what you say, or what you
Oh
do,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they remember how you make them feel.
Feel.
That
Yes, yes.
that quote, which I haven't quoted properly, has always resonated with me. And birth mothers from during the baby scoop era, we call it BSE, which is like from the after World War II, the 40s up until Roe v. Wade in the 70s, when there was just such shame around being an unwed mother, and pressure to hide that and not bring shame upon the family, that just sticks with many of those birth mothers. And that's, Carol Schaefer wrote The Other Mother and had a movie produced from her book. And we're Facebook friends, so that's kind of cool. And I met her at a Bastard Nation conference in the 1990s.
Wow.
And she talks about that. And there's a new book. Sorry, I'm going librarian mode.
Yes, I can see your, but we have to catch up, Diane.
Okay, all right.
We have to catch up. So just so we don't lose where we are,
Yes.
Mom, we've met, you've talked, you've set boundaries, and
Okay.
where are you today with all of that? Is your mom still
I
here?
will say that then I took her out to meet my mom. I took Jan to meet my mom. And it was just lovely to see them embrace each other and then just talk about being thankful for the role each of them took in, having me, raising me, and
Who you are, who you've become. Look at who you've become, and yeah.
Right. Well, and they were both educators, right? So they were both teachers. There were a lot of things that overlapped in
But where are you today?
Today, 29, almost 29 years later. Let's see, I saw Jan in California. At my nephew, so her younger son's wedding. So we're still in relationship. We have a good relationship. She, I've met my half brothers on her side.
So she told them
they are
she was
wonderful.
able. She told them, and she told everybody and said, "Okay, this is what's happening."
Yeah. So after that email, actually, this is kind of important because she was really worried what her sons would think about her, and I said, tell them or not, and it doesn't get easier the longer you wait. And so she took them out to brunch. The two of them, they were all up in Anchorage at the time. She took them out to brunch, and she told them about their older sister, and she had raised them right. And so they were like, Mom, we don't care if you have 3 kids or 300 or 3,000. You're our mom and we love you.
We love you. Yeah.
And
that's beautiful.
And times have changed, right? From all of that. And people have kids without being married. And so they were very understanding and were supportive of their mom, and that meant a lot to her and to me, and that they were accepting of me has meant a lot. And I think just human beings, if you get curious about other people and leave the judgment, have more curiosity and less judgment around these things, and it just makes things easier. So Jan got to meet my dad, my stepdad, my stepmom, and everybody, it was a love fest, right?
Oh, I love that. That is so, I don't know if it's unusual, but it sounds unusual and
Right?
beautiful. That's what it feels like. Oh, that happened? You met, because, I
It
don't know
can
anybody I can hear
happen.
that. It can, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
don't set that as the expectation, though.
no,
I I set the bar low, and that, that's, you got to set it low. You got to think, okay,
yeah.
I'm going to get rejected again. I'm going to find a headstone. I'm going to find out whatever the bad thing is, and then you can be pleasantly surprised. But really,
Right.
you have to guard yourself when you go on this journey.
Yes.
And prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and take steps so that you have the support you need We can handle the truth, Jack Nicholson.
Well,
And it can take support to handle the truth because, yeah, something can start off like a good reunion, and then you find out that they're not willing to introduce you to the family.
yes,
Some of
been
your
there.
biological relatives are going to be people you do not want to connect with. So
Been
now
there.
that you're able to, with DNA, this is before DNA that I met my biological mother,
Well,
right?
yeah, me too. I met mine when I was 31.
Uh-huh.
And imagine, so that's 1981, somewhere 82, somewhere in there. So, yeah, different era. Born to a woman in the 49 and a black woman coming to Canada and all that. So those stories, you know, on whose shoulders we stand. But I know, because we're Sagittarians together, that's what it was. After I heard you say, that's why, because I'm listening, I'm going, yeah, there's so much in there, the humor, the da-da-da. Yes. But let's talk about your journey this year. So we understand you and your mom are together. Your journey, you had a big journey this year that you talked about, just finding or meeting your biological father.
Yeah. Yeah. That, um, so I'm going to tie this back. So in her first letter to me in 1996, so I'm reading, and Jan is confessing that I'm sorry to say that I don't have any photos of your father. He'd left her at the altar basically. And so she had a moment, a friend encouraged her to purge. So she'd burned everything, right? And she and I over the years were searching for him because she knew his name. Or she thought she knew his name, right? There was that when we couldn't find him, there was like, well, maybe he gave me the wrong name. But we looked for him. And then it wasn't until DNA kits became readily available that I connected with members of my biological family. And through through ancestry, I connected with a first cousin. And this is about, I think, 8 years ago now. And I got a message on an ancestry from my first cousin who was like, oh, you just popped up on my matches. I don't know who you are. And of course I know I'm excited, and I have to play this cool, right? Because I don't want to spook them. I'm just putting this out there. Adopted people, if you're doing this, you might reconsider saying, hey, I'm adopted looking for my biological parents. I would counsel you to maybe not do that immediately upon connecting with relatives you find from those DNA
That's good advice.
matching
Absolutely.
kits,
Yeah.
because that can shut down, depending on the family, that could just shut
Yes.
down things and everything will get locked. So screenshot everything before you reveal anything, because sometimes those public trees can go private and you lose the possibility of making connections. So we exchanged information. I knew enough of my story from Jan to ask the questions that would help me. And the question that I loved getting the answer to was like, oh, well, was one of your aunts a nun? Because one of my father's sisters had flown out to Seattle for the wedding, and she was going to become a nun. And so that was a question. And the answer was, oh, my mom was a nun. Which I just think that is kind of a funny thing to say. Obviously, she had not. She had
No, she
had
hadn't
been. She
committed
was
to
going to
that.
be a nun, but then yeah, had not followed that path. And so I was talking to my first cousin, who was like the youngest of the cousins, and then she sent me photos of him, and just seeing him for the first time, and he kind of looked like Lionel Richie. And I had kind of hoped that, Sidney Poitier was my father. That would have been a
See,
nice.
Hollywood. See, I know. Yeah.
but but yeah, I was able to see him and the family, and learn something about the family history and where we come from, and see family trees, and that meant such a lot to me. And then I think it was maybe a year and a half later, on 23andMe, which unfortunately I believe is declaring
Gone.
bankruptcy, or is
Yeah.
gone. Is it
Yeah.
gone now?
I
Dissolved?
believe it's gone. Yeah.
So you might want to get your record shut down, pulled out of there, if you don't want
They
somebody
did say that. Yeah.
getting your data. I connected with a half sister, and I got to meet her. She actually came up to Oregon while I was at a horse show. There's combining the horses and adoption. She came up, and we got to meet, and that was the first time in 2019, maybe it was 2021. The second time I met her was this May. And on May 16th, that was a Friday, I got a Facebook message from my half sister, and she said, "Call me. Our father has been found." Because we'd been looking for him. Nobody had known in the family where he had been for 10 years, maybe. Uh, he had been a Vietnam veteran, and Vietnam had not been good to him, as it was not good to so many.
Yes.
And I'm not sure exactly. He'd had a challenging life and had some mental health issues, and had basically lost contact with the family. And so this message, she's like, "Our father has been found. Call me." So I called her, and she said our half brother, who had actually been raised by our father, in a married relationship in the 70s, had reached out to my half sister and told her that our father was in the hospital in Louisiana, in the VA hospital, and wasn't doing well. And due to circumstances of his upbringing, our half brother did not want to go and see him, but he knew that the sisters, neither one of us had ever met him, might want to. And so he had reached out and let her know. And so my half sister had been raised by her mother in Michigan, and had a full older brother, and always knew who her father was, although I don't believe he was listed on her birth certificate, because they had not been married. They were high school friends with benefits. Because, yeah, her mother was 17 when she had her, and she had an older brother too. And so anyway, I met my half sister for the second time. She and her mom had to fly in. Her mom had had a stroke, and she was her caretaker. And, we were just trying to get there before he passed, because he wasn't doing well. And so I flew from Portland to New Orleans, and got up, after grounding myself, getting to the VA hospital and taking a little time to get ready uh, and putting on, this is my lucky, oh, you can't see. I
Okay,
have
okay.
this
Oh, that's right with the
lucky
purple. Yeah.
unicorn horn. I wore this the whole trip. Um, and I went up to his room, and the doctor, I was coming around, and the doctor turned around, hanging up the phone, and said, "Oh, are you Diana Inch?" Which surprised me because as an adopted person, you don't know if you will be welcome in those situations in
Mm-hmm.
with the family. And
Mm-hmm.
here it was a blessing that the family did not want anything to do with our father at
Mm-hmm.
this point, because it left an opening for his his daughters who did want to meet him and hopefully have a relationship with him, to do that. And so I come around, and the doctor said, "Are you Diana Inch?" And I was like, "Yes." And he said, "I just got off the phone with your sister. Their flight's delayed. Would you like to go meet your father?"
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Wow.
the doctor does not know that this is the first time I'm ever meeting
Mm-hmm.
my father.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very surreal experience to go into a room and see your blood relative, your biological father, for the first time. And he's intubated and has a oxygen mask on, and it's a hospital. Um, and just to be there in his presence, non-responsive, was, I mean, I call it a bittersweet blessing that I was able to make it there in time. And so I spent a couple of hours just sitting there holding his hand, maybe talking to him a little bit, doing the Hopo Ono prayer of forgiveness, um, and waiting for my half sister to show up. And he tried to die on me at some point when they moved him from one side to the other, and his numbers just started to go down, and all of the doctors came in into the room, and the doctor was like, "I'm sorry, your father is dying." And I held his hand, and I asked him if he could just hold on.
Until.
And his numbers started to come back up. And it was about 2 hours later that my sister arrived with her mom in a wheelchair, right? Because she couldn't find a caretaker for her. And so it had been 59 years from the time her mom had seen him, from the last time they did the deed. So I don't know what was going through her mind, but I gave my sister a chance. I was like, "I'm gonna leave, and I'll come back in an hour or so." And just gave her space to spend time with him. And then she got in about 2:30, and we were holding a hand. Each of us, my sister and I, were holding a hand when he passed about 9:30 that evening, never having woken up or anything. Um, and yet there had been a change in the energy in the room. Like when I first arrived, he had kind of like a little gasping. And at the end, it was a very peaceful passing. And I was very thankful that I was able to make it there, that we both were able to be there. And I was so thankful that my sister was able to be there, because she had wanted to meet him, and she wanted to have a relationship all her life with him. And it was, for her, I think she was more disappointed as an adopted person. I didn't expect I would ever get to have a chance to meet my biological father, because oftentimes you don't know who they are. And so, again, setting my expectation very low, anything was a bonus. For her, she had been searching. She knew who he was. His name had been grown up around cousins and aunts and uncles in Michigan, but was always on the outside, was never welcomed into the family because she was illegitimate. And so her story is also very interesting. She was not in foster care or adopted, but very interesting. And I'm going to grab something real quick. I'm going to go away for a moment. I just want to say that when I flew into the New Orleans airport, I picked up this little figurine, because our father was a saxophone player. And so I didn't know what I was going to find at the hospital. And so I had this figurine. Now it has fallen and things had fallen off. And so I had to actually glue his head back on recently. But I was able to have my father see his hands, hold his hands, and have him embrace this figurine also. And so since he passed and I took the figurine around, this is kind of my stand-in. This is my
yes.
transference object. I can't remember. My niece told me it's something, but anyway, he comes around with me, and
it sounds like, he heard you.
I believe
just
that.
Sounds like he heard you, and to have sort of like that peaceful transition or what you felt was a peaceful transition, and the energy changing and all of that. That's beautiful. Diana, on that note, I don't even know, because I know we could go on for another 4 hours. What's
Can I share just one more thing?
Sure,
Sharon?
absolutely.
Sorry. I just want to say that we were keeping our brother, the one who had told us, notified us about our father's condition. We were keeping him in the loop of what was happening. And so when our father passed, we made the phone call to tell our brother. And that was the first time I'd ever talked to him. And I thanked him for allowing us this opportunity to be involved in this, to have a chance to see where my hands come from and hold his hand. And it was, I don't know if what I said affected our brother or not, because he hadn't planned on coming out. But when we were at brunch the day following our father's passing, over brunch, my sister got a text from our brother saying that he was going to fly out the next day. And so I had flown out on a one-way ticket, right? I didn't know what I was going to find. I had friends who pitched in and got me to be able to leave my responsibilities. And that was taking care of horses and house sitting and stuff, so that I had that chance. And that's where your support network is so helpful. But to know that our brother was going to fly out, I was like, I'm going to stick around and meet him. And we did. And I'll say this one thing. We had a whirlwind 2.5 days of taking care of our father's things, trying to find the DD 214. This is military stuff. We were going to the military benefits, going to the funeral home, all of these things that we were doing as the three of us all together. And closing out bank accounts, looking through, going through his room. He had a room in a boarding house. Um, and the three of us, having never worked together before, we really stepped up and we were wonderful humans. And at the funeral home, the director said, in order for someone to be cremated, the majority of siblings had to agree to that, to cremation. And so she asked how many siblings there are. And his sister said five. And
But
brother
three
and
were
I
there.
said that we know of. And then
Oh,
while we were cleaning out our father's room, at one point, brother said, "Thank goodness for ancestry," because otherwise I would be here cleaning this up all by myself. And
wow.
when I got on the same flight as our brother, and he walked me from where he was getting off in San Francisco to my gate to go take the flight to Portland. And I said, it's really amazing what we did in 2.5 days. And I mean, his eyes just kind of got wide, and he was just like, hadn't realized, how much we got to know each other under stressful circumstances, but with grace. And he actually, he thanked me. He's an engineer. He was like, he really appreciated my levity and adding to what could have otherwise been a very dark and, I mean, it was serious. We were doing serious things and we were making the best of it. And I think he just really appreciated that I was able to find the humor in things and kind of lighten the load, share the load with the three, between the three of us, or among the three of us. Yeah. And so it
Wow.
can be done. People, I think if folks can just get over their fear and judgment and be open to meeting people where they are and making the decision, give somebody a chance to, get to know you a little bit. And then if things don't work out, that's okay. But I would just encourage people to give folks a chance to have some relative peace, or
Oh,
get curious. That's kind of my motto of my business is let's get curious together. And I do bring a little bit of lightheartedness, and a great deal of experience and knowledge about what can be and what has been. So I thank you, Sharon Lee, for allowing me this opportunity to share my truth, my story.
your truth, your story, and we will have your information. I know you've sent us your information. I want to really, really thank you, Diana, for sharing your story, for being courageous, for being helpful, for being a voice, because um, nobody heals alone, right? Nobody heals alone. And every voice has an echo. So it's important that you share your story and others share their story, because it reverberates. We help each other in that. So thank you, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you,
And
Diana.
and I would encourage people to, especially adopted people, to take action and get involved in legislation that will allow us to get access to our original birth certificates. Um, there are many things that you can do as an adoptive parent, as a birth parent. There's the Concerned United Birth Parents. I was just at a meeting last week. There are support networks out there, and healing can be easier with friends, with support. And I really think I encourage people to look at the state of adoption, and I'm tending to call it the child supply market more now, because there are so many things that people are not aware of about
Oh,
rehoming. I mean, that's a
yeah,
whole different, that's a whole different, but
that's a
people need
whole
to
other story.
know,
Yes, you
yeah,
need to come
be
on
aware
for
that
that.
those
Yes,
orphans
yes.
in Africa are not always orphans. The
That's right.
children
That's
adopted
right.
from Korea were
Yes, that's
stolen.
right.
There's a
That's right.
lot of cover up, and so I want the truth to come out, and I want to help people find their truth and handle their truth. And it's
Yeah.
yeah, a
Well,
lot
I'm
needs
going to
to be
bring you
done to
on for
make it
that. Yeah, I want to
better
bring
for
you on
you.
for that separate thing, because rehoming is a whole other thing that's
Yeah.
a big, big, big topic. So Diana, thank you for sharing your time and sharing your energy, sharing. I know you were heading off to work. Just thank you for everything.
Got
And
to get to the library.
got to get to
Yeah.
the got to get to the library, and be well and
Thank
stay
you, Shani.
blessed. Thank you. All right.
Thanks for hearing my voice. This is
Yes,
my
because
Burning Man necklace that I went to Burning Man to try to find my voice, and I would love to take a group of adopted people who might be interested in going to Burning Man sometime. So,
oh, see, we have to talk about that. Diana, Diana, Diana.
all right,
Okay,
another time. Thank you so
another
much.
time. Thank you, honey. Be well, be well, be well. Au revoir,
Okay,
merci.
see ya.
Bye.